My name is Maman Sage. The dead leave stories behind. Tonight, I will share one of them. Not from my house, not from my graveyard, not from my candles, but from a place in Tennessee where the land still remembers the footsteps of a family that could never escape the voice inside the walls. This story began in 1817 on a small farm near the Red River. There lived a farmer named John Bell, a wife, children, land, a life that seemed ordinary. But evil rarely enters a house screaming. Sometimes it comes quietly, like movement in the tall grass, like a shadow between the trees, like an animal that does not resemble any animal God ever made. One day, John Bell walked out into his field. The air was still, too still, the kind of silence that comes when birds stop singing before a man understands why. Then he saw it, something between a dog and a beast, a body that looked wrong, a head that did not belong. It stood among the corn, watching him. No fear, no movement. John lifted his rifle and fired. The creature vanished. It did not fall. It did not run. It vanished like smoke, like a thought that refused to be remembered. That same night, the house began to breathe differently. First came the sounds, scratching inside the walls, thumping beneath the floor, footsteps across the ceiling where no one could walk. The children woke up crying. The dogs howled at dark corners. Doors opened by themselves. Blankets slid from beds. Something unseen moved through the rooms, something that did not want to be seen, only heard, only felt, only allowed close enough to ruin the sleep of everyone inside that house. At first, the family said nothing. People do that. When horror sounds too absurd to speak aloud, they lock it behind their teeth. But evil loves silence. It grows inside it. And soon the noises became stronger. Not knocks, blows. Not footsteps, dragging, as if a heavy body was being pulled through the walls, as if someone was crawling behind the wooden boards, searching for a place to come out. Then the voices began. At first, they were little more than whispers, soft, broken, impossible to understand, like someone speaking beneath deep water. Night after night, they grew louder, until every word became clear. It was a woman's voice, old, harsh, filled with hatred. A voice that knew every name inside that house. A voice that laughed whenever the children cried. Before long, the family gave it a name, the Bell Witch. Some believed it was the restless spirit of a dead woman. Others called it a curse, a demon, a witch seeking revenge. After 50 years of speaking with the dead, I have learned one thing. Names do not weaken evil. they give it a face. And once evil has a face, it begins to answer. The voice no longer hid in the walls. It spoke openly to the family, to their neighbors, to complete strangers who crossed the front porch. Soon the Bell farm became famous. People traveled for miles to witness what they believed was impossible. Most arrived smiling. None of them left the same way. Because the voice knew things no stranger could possibly know. It repeated conversations held miles away. It whispered forgotten secrets. It revealed hidden sins. It answered questions before anyone spoke them aloud. Some visitors swore they felt invisible fingers brush against their necks. Others claimed something breathed into their ears, while no one stood beside them. Then the laughter began. Not human laughter, not joyful laughter. It echoed through the chimney, rolled beneath the floorboards, slithered through the empty rooms. Sometimes it sounded like an old woman, sometimes like a little girl, sometimes like dozens of voices laughing together. The Bell children stopped sleeping. Every sunset brought another night of terror. Every sunrise felt like survival. But no one suffered more than Betsy Bell, the youngest daughter. For reasons no one ever understood, the spirit chose her. It began with small things, a tug on her hair, a sharp slap across her face, a painful pinch on her arms. Then the attacks grew worse. Invisible hands yanked her from the bed. Something clawed at her skin. Her hair was pulled so violently that clumps of it fell onto the floor. She screamed. Her parents rushed into the room. They found bruises, fresh scratches, but no attacker, only the darkness. Can you imagine it? Sitting alone in your bedroom, knowing the door is locked, knowing no one else is inside, then feeling fingers wrap around your hair, pulling so hard your head snaps backward while nothing is there. Hearing footsteps circle your bed, feeling warm breath against your face, listening to someone whisper your name without seeing a single soul. Betsy begged for it to stop. She prayed. She cried herself to sleep. But some spirits do not feed on fear. They feed on suffering. And the more she wept, the stronger the voice became. Then the voice turned its attention to John Bell. At first, it mocked him. It called his name in the middle of the night, sometimes from the attic, sometimes from beneath the floor, sometimes from directly behind him. Each time he turned around, there was nothing there, but the voice always laughed. Then came the threats, clear, calm, patient. I will kill you, John Bell. Every member of the family heard those words. So did the visitors. No one could explain how a voice with no body could fill an entire room. It came from everywhere: the walls, the chimney, the darkness beneath the stairs, as if the house itself had learned how to speak. Soon John's health began to fail. Without warning, his hands started trembling. His legs grew weak. Some mornings he could barely stand. Other days he struggled to swallow even a sip of water. The attacks came and went, always after the voice had spoken. Doctors were called. Neighbors offered remedies. Prayers echoed through the house. Nothing helped. Night after night, the unseen presence remained, watching, waiting. Sometimes John would wake gasping for air. He swore invisible hands were wrapped around his throat. Other times, he felt something sitting on the edge of his bed, heavy, silent, breathing. He refused to open his eyes because he knew if he looked, something would be looking back. The family stopped sleeping. Candles burned until sunrise. No one wanted to be alone. Even the dogs refused to enter certain rooms. They stood outside the doors, growling at empty space. One stormy evening, the voice spoke again, louder than ever before. "You belong to me now." The room fell silent. Even the wind outside seemed to disappear. Then something slammed against the bedroom wall. Once, twice, again. The entire house shook. Pictures crashed onto the floor. The children screamed. John collapsed where he stood. When they lifted him, his face had turned pale. His eyes stared into the corner of the room, not at his family, not at the doctor, at something no one else could see. His lips trembled. He whispered only 4 words. "It's standing beside you." No one dared turn around, because deep inside, every person in that room already knew. If they looked, they might finally see the thing that had been speaking to them all those months. Winter came, and with it, silence. Not peace, the kind of silence that comes just before something terrible happens. For several days, the voice said almost nothing. No laughter, no footsteps, no whispers in the walls. The Bell family wanted to believe it was over, that perhaps their prayers had finally been answered. I have learned never to trust silence. The dead become quiet for only 2 reasons: because they have left, or because they are standing close enough that they no longer need to call your name. One morning, John Bell could not rise from his bed. His hands shook so violently he could no longer hold a cup. His breathing had become shallow. Every word seemed to cost him strength. The doctor could offer no explanation. No illness, no poison, no wound, only a healthy man fading away while something invisible watched from the darkness. Then they found the bottle. It was small, made of dark glass. No one in the house had seen it before. No one knew where it had come from. It sat beside John's bed as though someone had placed it there during the night. Inside was a strange black liquid, thick, almost like oil. The family stared at it in silence. Then the voice laughed, not from the walls, not from the ceiling, from inside John's bedroom. "I gave him his medicine." Those were the words, clear enough for everyone to hear. The family refused to touch the bottle. According to the old accounts, a small amount of the liquid was given to a cat. Within moments, the animal collapsed. It never breathed again. No one spoke. No one needed to. They all understood. Whatever had been inside that bottle, it had never belonged in the hands of the living. The next morning, John Bell was dead. The house became strangely quiet. For the first time in years, no footsteps crossed the ceiling. No scratching echoed through the walls. No laughter, nothing. His family believed the nightmare had finally ended. Until the funeral, people gathered around the grave, heads lowered, prayers whispered into the cold air. Then a woman laughed, loudly, cruelly. No one could see her, yet everyone heard her. The laughter circled the mourners, moving from one side of the cemetery to the other, as if something invisible walked among the graves. Then the voice spoke one final time. "I kept my promise." The laughter echoed across the cemetery and disappeared. Some said the Bell Witch was finally gone. Others claimed she returned years later, looking for new voices, new houses, new names. I cannot tell you which story is true, but I can tell you this. There are places where people still refuse to spend the night. There are families who still speak of whispers in the darkness. And there are those who believe the Bell Witch never died, because you cannot bury something that was never alive. My name is Maman Sage, and after all these years, I have stopped asking whether legends are real. I ask a different question. Why do so many people tell the same story after hearing the same woman's voice in the dark? If one night your house wakes you with footsteps above your bed, and you know there is no one upstairs, do not answer the voice if it calls your name. Some legends survive because people keep telling them. Others survive because something is still listening. In 1817, a farmer saw a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. He raised his rifle and fired, but it didn't fall. It didn't run. It vanished. That same night, something began scratching inside the walls of his house. And that was only the beginning. My name is Maman Sage. This is the legend of the Bell Witch. The Bell family began hearing a woman's voice, not outside, inside the walls. It knew their names, their secrets, and it laughed whenever the children cried. That is how the legend of the Bell Witch was born. My name is Maman Sage, and this is only the beginning.